I'm also from Sheffield as well, and quite funnily enough, I used to work at Airship a long, long time ago, and it's quite a different platform to what it is today. So I'm here to talk to you today about data, loyalty, and value. The first slot of the day, talking about data. Basically, my job to not make it sound very fucking boring. So, fingers crossed. Okay, so why do we collect data? Like, it's going to go through some basics. Hopefully not teaching you to suck too many eggs. But it is basically like the newest currency. You've got to think of it as a currency. And I think Vic Searle, who I'm sure many of you have heard of, was meant to be here today. Unfortunately, she's not. I'm pretty sure, not quite verbatim, but she says it's almost like if you're not collecting data and using guest data, it's paramount to kind of negligence, basically, in the business. Like, it is super, super important. And you really, I think, what I'm going to go through is like the two sides of it. You've got a commercial value, right? And it's underlying that the quantity and the quality of the data you collect will help determine the value of that business. There's probably a lot of you thinking, saying like, I don't really give a shit about that because I don't own the business. Okay, so like driving the actual value of the business is not your job. But what we do drive is we drive an emotional value, and that makes us look like rock stars in our job, which we do care about. Okay, so it's about driving commercial value and also the emotional value. Loyalty. There's so many people speaking about loyalty at the moment. It seems to be like the hot topic at the moment. Everyone is trying to speak about it. Everyone wants to know where it's going to go. Where the market is going to move. There's a few of the big players have kind of made some pretty kind of big schemes out there recently. And I know there's a lot of operators of all sizes and all shapes looking at it thinking, how do we drive loyalty? But for me, my biggest thing is like loyalty isn't about points and pounds, right? Like loyalty isn't about a loyalty scheme per se. Loyalty for me is where like we can collect data that helps us build and make connections and relationships with our guests, right? And those can drive commercial value, as we've said, so they can drive the pounds and the pence, but they also massively drive emotional value, okay? We don't have to think of loyalty as loyalty schemes. We need to think of like loyalty as making our guests have a better time and starting to visit us more and more often. And there's two sides to it really. And I don't know if anyone was at the Propel conference on Thursday last week. I think it was down in Oxford. There was Marcel from Franco Manca and Real Greek, and so from Fulham Shaw, CEO of them. And he actually phrased it as kind of digital loyalty and human loyalty, which I thought was fantastic. But again, I've got it as customer loyalty and brand loyalty. So think of loyalty as like there's two different sides to it. So the customer loyalty for me is when guests they visit more often and they spend more than they do at your competitors, right? So I might be a loyal customer to somewhere, but I'm not like loyal to that brand. Like I might go to a coffee shop, and I'm sure loads of you do it. You'll go to the coffee shop on the way to your tube station. Right, you visit them more often than you visit your competitors. You spend more money in their venue than you do in other venues, right? But that's because of like habit and convenience, right? Because they are on the way to your tube stop. So to them, you are a loyal customer, okay? But when we're talking about brand loyalty, that's when we're bringing emotions into it much more. So in that instance, if another coffee shop opened that was nearer to you or cheaper, you'd walk past that coffee shop to go to the other one, okay? So that's then the difference is like, in the brand loyalty, you're going out of your way, you're still buying from them despite like similar services that might be easier or closer or cheaper or more convenient than the one that you're shopping at, okay? So that's like such a clear distinction. Both of them are going to drive pounds and pence, absolutely. Both of them are going to drive profit as well for the business, but there is such a clear distinction to try and think through. Okay. So that's some of the why. The why is we drive the commercial value, we drive the emotional value of the business. The biggest question though is you've got to ask. So say if you're then the end user now, you're the guest or the customer visiting somewhere, you really need to start thinking like, what is in it for me? Right? If you want my data, what do I get out of it? Okay? There's a fantastic, I'll happily share it afterwards, the 2024 State of the Nation report on loyalty. It's not just for hospitality, it's a global report across all different sectors. But they say, so 92% of people think a discount or some kind of value exchange, some kind of coupon is a valuable exchange for my data, right? And we see this everywhere in e-commerce. Like, I don't quote me on this. I don't have the facts and figures, although I am running a big project actually for probably for RMI. So anyone that comes to Restaurant Marketing and Innovator Conference, like I'm doing a piece on that. So I'd hazard a guess that about 5%, do you reckon, hospitality businesses are currently giving kind of a clear value exchange at the moment, where they say, you give your email address or your data, and I will give you a free beer, £10, 20% off your first visit, a free glass of Prosecco for your birthday, like whatever it might be. I reckon about 5% are probably doing that at the moment. There's 95% of people not doing that. If you flip that coin and go into like e-commerce, you're probably the complete opposite. There's probably about 5% not doing it. Think about like when you buy something online. Do you want 10% off your first box of craft beers? Your first Gusto's are half price for the first three, and you get 10% off your first order. You get free shopping if you spend £10 more, like whatever it might be. Like if we think about comparing ourselves to e-commerce, which we really should be doing, and we need to, this is where there's such a stark difference. One of the places I used to work at Ego Restaurants, I don't know if anyone knows them or not. They've got about 30 sites, predominantly kind of Midlands and up north. But were recently bought about a year ago or so by Mitchells and Butlers. Massive pub company, 1,500, 2,000 sites all over up and down the country. We had such a simple, clear value exchange. Join the Ego Club, you get 20% off on certain days, you get a free meal for your birthday, and you get a bottle of Prosecco for your anniversary. And we built that database, and we charged that database like crazy. Like that drove massively, like not the only thing, don't get me wrong, there's loads more things that go into it, but that drove the value of the business, like huge. All right, this is now a live test. I'm going to look at examples at the end, right? If you want to get your phone out, right, there's 2 QR codes here that you can scan. One, you can join my newsletter. The other one, if you want to scan that, you can win a free day of my time. You go into a competition, and they are live QR codes. If anyone wants to get their phone out and scan it, you can either choose to join my newsletter, or you can win a free day of my time. And at the end, I'll look and see how many people signed up, and we'll hazard a guess as to which one got the more sign-ups. I'm going to leave them there for a second. 3, 2, 1, gone. Okay. So that's what's called a lead magnet. Again, in e-commerce world, you've got lead magnets, which is basically what I'm giving you in exchange for my data. And it happens across B2C, direct to consumer stuff, and it happens in B2B. Like a lot of the tech suppliers in the industry do it as well. Like when you get that free report from Feeditback on their pulse survey, you put your email address in, right? When you want to get a trends report or the top 5 things to drive value in the business, like all of these kind of free webinars, these free tools, all of them you're putting your email address in. Like think about like where, like, and how often you're putting your email address. So again, so some of the stats. So from this State of the Nation report, they see, and again, this is across all industries globally, and I'd argue it's probably higher for hospitality as well. You're seeing a 28%, so basically a third increase in the people that are signing up, a 2.6% increase in conversion, and then they spend more. All right? Our job as marketers, forget about a lot of the brand stuff and the proposition stuff, is to get more people visiting more often, spending more money. Right? That's what it boils down to. 3 things. More people, more often, spending more money. Right? So we need to grow that database. I can't remember what the stats you had at the beginning. It's like 1.7 visits versus 1.4 for people opted in, and they're more likely to visit. And then they visit more often. So honestly, my phone's pinging now because people are filling in a form. Didn't think about that. And then also, I don't know, like we've got some amazing people speaking later about the different tools and tactics. But honestly, like email is the biggest and best sales channel you have in your business. Like I promise you that. Social is fantastic at driving awareness. It's fantastic at getting people to sign up. PR activations makes this massive noise. It is amazing, and they all work together. But as a pure sales tool, email is still number 1. Okay, and again, It's like 2024 data, so it's up to date. So, as I've said, to summarize, why do I need a clear value exchange? And that clear value exchange is not just subscribe to our newsletter. Like, doesn't really excite anyone. I don't really want to sign up to anyone's newsletter. We need to give a clear reason as to give me your data and this is what you're getting. 3 reasons. More people, more often, and they spend more money, which is the crux of it. I want to talk a little bit about free. Like, I think there's a massive stigma about people are scared of giving something away for free because it's like, oh, we can't give away something for free. Like, and I get there's an element of like discounting is a drug, and when you get on it, it's hard to get off it. And when you're in charge of driving like-for-like cover growth, if you've done discounts, that gets pretty hard, right? But the other way of doing it is like just give something for free and make it super simple, make it super easy. Don't restrict it too much, like especially if you're opening a venue. I think Jack, wherever Jack is, how many pizzas did you give away for Rudy's?
10,000 each time.
10,000 pizzas each time you open. Is Rudy's doing quite well? I think as a business, I think it's doing pretty well, right? Like giving stuff away, like don't be too scared about it. And I think this is the really, like, I'm going to try and do live maths on stage, which is probably the most stupid thing I could possibly do because I'm going to trip myself up, right? Let's just say your spend per head is £30, right? £30 net, and your table size is 3. So the value of that table is 90, okay, right? And you give away someone £20, okay? And you're thinking, shit, £20, that's a lot of money, right? It's something crazy, like 2/3 of people spend more as well than the value of the gift you're giving away, right? So that average spend per head will actually go up, okay? And that £20 that you're giving away is well, wanting to get into gross and net, is a gross £20, not a net £20. And it probably cost you about a £5, okay? Like in terms of real hard kind of cost of the ingredients, what have you, it's £5. Okay, so let's just say you're £90, 3 people at £30, you're £90, like reduces down to £80. Okay? If I said to you today, if you've got a £5 in your pocket, give it to me, and I'll give you £80 back. Put your hands up. Who's giving me a £5? Okay, like honestly, and you can rinse and repeat that over and over again. Like you have to think about that. Like it is scary giving something away for free, but you understand that this is a cost of acquisition, right? This is the same as when you put an ad on social and you put £1,000 behind it. Or when you pay for an influencer to do something, or when you pay for a PR, like to do something, you pay for a link or an article or a magazine promo or whatever it might be. Like this is a cost of marketing and it's the cost of acquisition. So like, don't be so afraid to give something away for free. This is like my guest journey loop, right? And there's a whole bunch of things that probably are not included in here. But if you think of typically as a side of it is kind of pre-visit, right, which is typically marketing in inverted commas. And then you've got like the in-venue side, which is typically operations. Like, and we have to work together in tandem. Like marketing versus ops can't be a thing. Like you need to work together, right? And this red dot here is like a user, a guest who's never been to your site. And again, I know I'm going to have missed some things out of this, right? They typically go through like a research phase. They look online, they look at your social, they might telephone you, they might send you an email or whatever, but then they come to like the booking. Again, if you're a restaurant, a little bit different if you're a coffee shop or a QSR or what have you, and there isn't booking, but this is like the gateway to your business. The booking platform is everyone has to go through it really. Also walk-ins or pre-booked, like that's the gateway to your business if you're a restaurant. And that data needs to be stored. And then once you're in, you've then got your typical like steps of service, right? You go through your welcome, your greet, your menus, your product offering, your upselling, all of that stuff. These guys are super important with your marketing. The teams on the floor, the servers, the waiters, the waitresses, the bar staff, like are so important in your marketing. They need to understand what your value exchange is. So like sign up to the database because you can sign up in venue, massive sign up opportunity in venue. They need to understand why people would sign up and what they get in return. If you're just telling people about it online, and these guys have got no fucking idea what it is, like you're not gonna collect anywhere near as much. You've got Wi-Fi, another fantastic source of data. They go through it, and then you've got kind of payment and feedback, and all that data needs to come back into one place, right, which is here. This then becomes your engine. As a marketer, it's my job to remind you about the fantastic experience you had. These guys need to give you a fantastic experience. If they're not, you need to tell them. You need to have the confidence to tell the ops team, like, you're not giving a good experience, and here's why. We use this kind of data, or we use visit frequency data, right, to show them and to explain to them. But then you've got people just going on this loop. They're constantly going on this loop. And our job, as the marketers, is to keep pushing people on this loop with the operators to make sure we are delivering like what we promise we're going to deliver. Does that make sense to everyone? Cool. And then, so let's just start with the basics as well. It also, not only, how many people have, as a percentage, how many people have automations set up?
So
roughly
about 60% have birthdays.
Okay.
Okay. Not a lot.
So two-thirds have birthdays, right? If you think of like three, for me, there's really three key like times, right? We work in hospitality, right? It's the art of being hospitable to people and making people feel welcome and valued. A welcome email. Like, imagine not saying hello to someone. Like, if you had a restaurant and someone walks through your door, or you were as a guest and you walked through something and they didn't say hello to you, you'd be like, this is shit, right? So like a welcome email, say hello to people. A thank you email, right? You've just spent money in a restaurant or a bar or a pub, whatever, and you walk out and someone says thank you. Imagine like not saying thank you to someone. And then the birthday. If you know it's someone's birthday, you say happy birthday to them, right? Like, it's so kind of simple. Even if you're not offering something, you don't want to go down the route of giving you a free glass of £5 or whatever it is, you can still say hello, thank you, and happy birthday, right? It's the fundamentals of hospitality. And if we're not saying hello, thank you, and happy birthday, we're in the wrong game, right? Like, this is hospitality, okay? Other ways. So one of the other businesses I consult for called East Coast Concepts, got two brands, one called Victor's, one called Neighborhood. So it's one of the big projects we've put in over the last couple of years is like collecting customer profile notes, okay? So passing data into your CRM is fantastic. It gives you a lot of quantitative data. Then work with your teams to start adding this like emotional data. You guys probably can't read it, so I'll read it in a bit for you. But like putting notes into your booking platform about your guests so that when they come back again, you can deliver a personalized experience. Like, that's loyalty. It's not a pound and a point. It's not a free birthday gift. It is loyalty. So this is real examples from two from last week. I just went into one and found two people and picked their notes. So you've got someone here, I can't read it here, who's come 14 times, right? Their profile note says, friend of VL, VL is the initials of the owner. So automatically, your staff know, right, they're a friend of the boss. He doesn't drink alcohol, offer premium mocktails and or soft drinks. She, I'm assuming wife, partner, drinks Verve. He has a Mediterranean tonic, he has a fillet steak cooked medium with extra English mustard. Like, giving your team that kind of level of information is amazing. And then you've got someone down here, so Grace Smith. So she's only been 2 times, right? So 14 visits, you'd expect to know something, but 2 visits. Likes to sit in the window, orders ribeye, black and blue. Who knows what black and blue is on a steak? Cool, I didn't know that either. Basically, he wants it burnt on the outside and wants it blue in the middle. Right? I've never heard of that. So someone comes in, and even if you're like a relatively new member of staff, you've never met Grace or their family, and you come in, and you see they like a ribeye, black and blue, and they say, oh, do you want your ribeye black and blue? Like, how amazing is that? Like, that's what makes you feel emotionally connected to the brand. Like, you're suddenly going to feel like valued. They've listened to you. They've learnt about you. They've understood what you like. I think when we've been for a beer before in your pub, is it Jack doesn't like ice? Or does like ice?
Doesn't like ice.
Doesn't like ice. Which is mad. Like, I've got 2 kids. They love ice. Yeah. Like, do you want ice? I'm like, yeah, I just give me a glass of ice. Like, they'll make a massive mess everywhere, but they love ice.
My son doesn't like ice.
Dan's son doesn't like ice. So imagine like when you get this drinks, like, here you go, Jack, we've not put ice in for you. Like, how amazing is that? How simple is that, right? That is the art of hospitality. So This and all of this is data. And whilst this level of information can't go into a CRM, really, and you can't do much with it, really, in a CRM, but this is giving like the people on the floor the information and the data at their hands to make a massive difference. And this is all the stuff with Danny Mayer. If anyone's read any of the Danny Mayer stuff, or Will Guidara on Art of Hospitality and Unreasonable Hospitality, it's all this. A little bit on where I think it's going. And again, there's more on this later. In terms of AI, some of it exists. Some of the tools kind of exist that are doing this already, whereby your automation and your email will be based on that specific person. And I know Dan's working on this. It's almost like make us redundant. No. But like, if you visit somewhere 3 times a week, let's just say, and that's your routine, you visit somewhere 3 times a week, right? And you don't visit for 2 weeks, well, that's abnormal. So you'd get something then triggered to you to be like, hey, Dan, we've not seen you for a couple of weeks. That's abnormal. And that, again, that could include something as a, why don't you come back? It could not include something, right? But the system will pick up on that. I might go to the same place and I only go once every month. So I wouldn't get the email that Dan got if he's not been for 2 weeks because it's irrelevant for me. Like, I would get it if I've not been for 2 months, let's just say. So that kind of behavioral automation based on individual patterns, like, that's coming. That's where I know Airship are working towards, and it is starting to exist. And again, really, it's us about like getting it set up and then using it to drive those kind of emotional and frequency visits. So, but look, tech is an enabler in all of this, and so is data. Like, as a guest, a loyalty scheme, again, whether that is £1 or a point or it's a free this for your birthday, or whatever it is, like, that might provide me with value, but in itself, it won't make me feel valued. Right? And there's quite a clear, like, stark difference there. We need to use the data to drive both the commercial return, which is about getting people in and in and in, like, and it is hard out there. I know it's hard. Like, the weather has been crap. The Euros have been good for some businesses and crap for some businesses. We've got this smoking ban coming down the line. All of these things, like, it is hard. I get that. Like, so we have to use the data to drive that commercial return. But don't ever forget about the guest, like the individuals at the heart of it. Like, it can never be like at compromise to what is the brand loyalty. All right, and if you're sitting there thinking, shit, like, what the hell do I do? How the hell do I start on any of this? Just go in simple blocks. Like, you don't have to try and solve the world, like, at the end. Like, just one step at a time. I think, like, one of the biggest blockers is I need to get this right first time and I've only got one chance. And that's not the case. Like, if you're planning to launch a massive pounds for points loyalty scheme and blah, 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 then you've got to get it right. But the chances are you're not going there having not done loads of this stuff already, right? This is the foundations. This is the building blocks, okay? Like, start doing something. I think people are scared of making a mistake. Like, we've all sent emails with mistakes in it. The business continues to trade, all right? People are worried about not knowing what to do. Like, it's, once you know your way around, it's relatively intuitive. The Airship team are here and they can help you. And then also, look, Dan's asked me to talk a little bit about me. So I've worked in hospitality. I started washing pots at the age of 13. And I've gone into kind of the marketing side, sales and marketing side. I've got 10 years experience as kind of head of marketing or director level marketing hospitality businesses. This is where I specialize. This is what I love doing. Optimizing your guest journeys, optimizing predominantly your kind of first party data. So that's all the data you're collecting from all the tools and tech and systems that you're currently using. Okay. If you understand that, there's a little bit more about me.
I'll leave it up.
Leave it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Jim. I think a couple of pointers from me on this. I break down data into 2 parts, really. You've got passive data collection and you've got active data collection. And your passive data collection is the tick box when the customer's not actually signing up with you, they're carrying out another action. So they're booking a table, they're giving feedback, they're connecting to the Wi-Fi, they're booking a room. And there's a tick box that says sign up to the newsletter on the bottom of that widget, and that widget's provided by Collins, or it's provided by Resdi, or it's provided by Seven Rooms, or it's Feed It Back, or Yumpingo, or any one of all of those tech landscape. And it's just passive, that. The customer's just ticking that box or not. Generally, the words attached to it are sign up for the newsletter. They're fucking dull. They're not encouraging anybody to do it. The sign up opt-in rate for booking journeys is 24%. That's what you get from it. Sign up opt-in rate for Wi-Fi hovers between 70 and 85% depending on the platform that you use, just because they've designed it in a slightly smarter way. The emails that bounce back to a customer the following day after visit asking for feedback should just say thank you, and then follow up with a feedback email. How was that experience for you? Everybody goes so hard on the feedback, I think it's almost noise to customers now. And I think you need to take care with that. Active data collection is that thing on your website that says currently, probably sign up for the newsletter. That becomes the value exchange. The value exchange is just marketing. All it's doing is taking the main revenue opportunities of your business and grouping them together into 5 things. Egos is anniversary, it's birthday, it's 20% off to drive an immediate visit with a short expiry on it. It's just about thinking about what are those revenue opportunities that you've got within your business. It doesn't need a massive tech infrastructure. It probably doesn't need board sign-off. It just needs you to list. And if you've got a private dining room, or if you've got a room like this and you can do a party for 100 people, or if you've got like a weekend stay package, and you can give people, that's part of your value exchange. And the automation of emails just delivers on the value exchange. You don't really need to think about it. But the key to it is that all data, no matter whether it's passive or active, it all gets treated in exactly the same way, and every customer is part of your value exchange. Because running silos of customers is really hard bloody work when you're a small marketing team with limited budget. Okay.
Which we all are.
Which everybody is. Absolutely everybody is. Yeah. Questions for James? Anybody, anything?
I was just looking.
There we go. We've got one.
Interestingly, like 3 times more people signed up for a free day.
Yeah.
There you go. Some people signed up for a newsletter.
What's your question? Hi. Hello.
Hello. How, what, sorry? Yeah, you mean in terms of like booking notes and things like that? Did you say from bills? What booking platform do you use? OpenTable. Okay, you can add customer notes on OpenTable. Like it's, and so where this is where working with your teams, this is where like marketing and ops need to work together, like massively, and they need to understand the value of what each other does. It's about then looking, and we incentivize it a bit as well. So it is one of the main kind of sales and marketing KPIs, KRAs, whatever you want to call them, like to try and get 50% of bookings to try and get a personalized note on 50% of reservations. So, and that then comes down to the teams that are incentivized to do it. And that's then just about listening and learning. Like you pick up as if you've worked as a waitress, waiter, behind the bar, host, whatever, like you'll pick up just information along the way. Like your till can tell you the sales data that Jack likes Coke, but your till is unlikely to tell you that Jack doesn't like ice in his Coke. Okay? So the only way to do that is literally the team on the floor is then like explaining why it's so important and like ideally incentivizing them to just put those notes in OpenTable, in Collins, in Seven Rooms, like against Dan's profile. And they sit there and they stay there. And ideally, I'm sure your OpenTable, especially for like Bills, goes across all your sites. So they could go to Bills Manchester, right, and go to Bills Nottingham. And if they book, or they come in, and when you come in and you put your phone number in or whatever it is you take as an identifier, like it then comes up and says, oh, Jack doesn't like ice in his Coke. So it's about putting those profile notes in your booking platform. And that's kind of where they have to stay, because that's then giving the teams on the floor the access to that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.